All right. Well, happy Friday. Woo! It's Friday. It's almost the weekend, which means I only have a couple more days of work to take care of. So, anyway, my beard's going a little crazy today. I don't know what's going on. I haven't shaved, but I'll tell you about that later. Probably. I usually only shave about once a week, and there's a reason for that. And I'll probably tell you that in a future live video. But anyway, for those of you that are joining me live, make sure and hit me up in the comments so I know you're here, so I can talk to you a little bit. And but let's get into the topic that I wanted to discuss today, because um, one of the questions that comes up a lot of times is, how long should a live video be? Okay. Now, if you're familiar with me, if I've done training for you, if I've coached you, you probably know that I ask a lot of trick questions. Okay. And the answer to a lot of the questions is either, or the answer to it is usually what you're not expecting, or the answer is it depends, because it depends on a lot of different things as to what the right answer might be. And so I want to talk a little bit too about that, because um, often people will make decisions quickly, thinking it's a black and white, yes and no kind of an answer, without actually looking at or thinking about some of the assumptions that they're making, some of the beliefs that they have that might actually encourage them to pick the wrong answer. Okay, one that probably is not in their highest and best interest. So I'm planning to talk a little bit about that too, in this video, right? Because it's a way to learn and some practical takeaways. So again, if you're here with me, hit me up in comments if you agree, disagree, have questions, just to let me know that you're here, because people that show up live for my videos, I like to do a call out to them and thank them for being here. So, all right, so let's get into it. And like I said, I can't, with the streaming software, I can't always really get an accurate count of who's actually on. And sometimes the comments don't come through, but most of the time they do. So put them in. Okay, so how long should a live video be? Well, it depends. Okay. If you were to ask 10 different people, you would get 10 different answers. Okay. Now, for those of my friends that kind of have the ADHD, just have a hard time concentrating, they're probably going to say, well, I like shorts. It needs to be less than a minute because, I got to get through. I'm really busy, or I can't just sit there and listen to something longer. Hey, fine, right? That's an answer. And for those people, that's probably the best answer. For other people, maybe it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. I don't know. It's going to be different for every person. Okay. And like I said, if you ask 10 people, you're going to get 10 different answers. So here's the deal, right? I don't do what those 10 different people suggested I should do, because I have to be authentic to myself. I have to be true to myself. I have to do what feels aligned and right for myself. Okay. And so here's the reality, right? I like to talk in things like this, right? A lot of times you'll see me just sitting silent and I don't say anything for hours, right? But I really enjoy sharing and talking with people. And so a lot of times my lives are a little bit longer. Hey, you may be one of those people that are like, Jason, I only want a 60-second video. Fine, go find it from somewhere else. I'm probably never going to do a 60-second video on here that's live. But for those of you that actually enjoy listening, you get something out of it, listen through to the end, right? And again, I see people pop on, pop off, pop on, pop off, pop on, pop off throughout the whole thing. So I know there's a lot of ADHD people that are out there. Fine. If it doesn't work for you, go listen to somebody else. But if you like what I'm saying, tune in, because even when it's a topic that you might think doesn't apply to you, I'm probably going to say something during the video that absolutely does resonate with you. because the fact that you found the video, you clicked on it, means there's something in the video that you're supposed to get from today. Okay. So how long should a live video be? Well, I think as well, I was trying to remember if it was Kurt Vonnegut, I want to say, that said this. I might be misquoting, but it's anyway, one of the authors that I really appreciate said, when they were asked the question, well, how long should a book be? Right? Because sometimes people will ask that question of authors. And, again, if you're a publisher, you might say, well, it needs to be 200, 250 pages or a certain number of words, because that's something in particular that the publisher is looking for. Or maybe they think they'll be more successful at selling the book if it meets a certain criteria, because they want to have it at a certain price point or things like that, right? But when you're creating art, and that's what these videos are, this is one of my ways of creating art. When you're creating art, you don't think about that. So as a writer, the answer to that question was, as long as it needs to be to tell the story and no longer. Okay. So what does that mean practically? Well, John Steinbeck, one of the authors that I really appreciate, I love his books, he wrote great books that were less than 100 pages long, maybe only 90 or 100 pages, but he also wrote books that were 400 or 500 pages long, right? Why the difference? Why did Steinbeck do that? Because some of the stories he could tell in 90 pages, some it took him 400 or 500 pages to tell the story. That's the same way I approach these videos. So again, I'm probably not going to do 60-second videos. They might go for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. They could go 20 minutes, right? Until I have delivered the art and the message that I felt like I was supposed to deliver for the day. Okay. So that's the answer to that question. Now, the second part that I wanted to touch on here real quick was what I alluded to at the beginning of the video, which is, a lot of times I ask trick questions, and I do that on purpose because a lot of us actually are making poor decisions because we don't have all the facts, or because we think it's a yes, no binary kind of decision, or we allow our assumptions and beliefs to get in the way and make us feel like there's only one right answer. Okay. So again, if we go back to the book or how long a video should be, every single one of you, when I asked that question, a number probably popped into your mind, right? But even for the people, let's say that are like, oh, 60 seconds, that's all I can ever listen to. Well, let me ask you, 60-second people, have you ever listened to a video that's longer than 60 seconds? The answer is probably yes. Well, why did you listen longer than 60 seconds? Because it was something you needed to hear that resonated with you. You didn't get everything that you needed yet. And so you listened longer, right? So again, don't live your life in a way that you just automatically assume and make these blanket decisions without actually looking at the facts and circumstances. Because again, sometimes, hey, you might need to be on and listen to something for 40 minutes, right? A lot of my podcasts go a little bit longer because of that, right? But people listen all the way to the end. Podcasts are another one, right? Like, how long should a podcast be? And again, if you ask 10 different experts, you're going to get 10 different answers, okay? And those are just people's opinions, man. That's just your opinion, man. Okay, that's a quote from a movie. That's just your opinion, man. If you know what movie that comes from, type it in the comments, because I'll do something special for you if you know which movie that actually is. It's one of my favorite movies. Anyway, but most people, right? They give you their opinion and they make it seem like it's fact. No, that's just their opinion based on their beliefs, based on the assumptions that they have made, based on how they've been indoctrinated or trained in their life. But most people's opinions are not the truth, right? They're opinions. And even when people think something is the truth, like, oh no, my dad told me this was true. Well, go fact check it and you'll find out your dad was probably wrong. right? I'm one of those dads, okay? One of my stepsons used to fact check me all the time when I would say something, and it's like, damn, I guess I was wrong, right? Or maybe the internet is wrong and I was still right. Who knows, right? But anyway, all seriousness aside, well, I guess that's what I'm doing, all seriousness aside, but let's get back to the serious, right? So, just like many of you probably knee jerk reacted to what you thought the right answer was when I asked you that question at the beginning of the video, or if you saw it in the comments, what if this week you quit making some of those snap decisions and you actually thought about it for a minute? Because what you will find, and what I have found in my life, is the older I get, the more I realize what I was taught is wrong. Okay. And I'll just give you a simple example that one of my coaches, Jim Fortin, earlier on a few years ago, actually told me. And when Jim first told me this, I thought, bullshit, Jim, that is not true. But for those of you in America, okay, we have a thing called the Pledge of Allegiance, right? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now, that's the way I was taught it in school, right? But if you go back before Eisenhower, guess what? That under God wasn't actually included in it, right? So Eisenhower added that. The Eisenhower administration added that later on. But you'd think something like that probably came from the government, right? It's a way to, encourage people to support your country, pledge allegiance to the flag, pledge allegiance to the country, right? And that's why we would have, that incorporated into the school system. So when I went through the school system every single morning, right, in first period, we would all stand up and we would all say the Pledge of Allegiance. And so again, you might be assuming that the reason for that is, well, we want to raise all these people to be God-fearing Americans that love the flag and love the country, right? But that's not where it came from at all. Do you know where the Pledge of Allegiance came from? A flag company who wanted to sell more flags. They convinced the school children and got it built into this kind of school curriculum, if you will, to sell more flags, right? So again, imagine if every schoolroom across the country all of a sudden had to buy a flag, and you sell flags. That's pretty good, isn't it? Right? So again, that's just a simple example that I was taught. And again, when I first heard it, I thought bullshit. And then I went out and I fact checked it. And guess what? He was right. I mean, it's very clear on the internet in multiple sources that is actually what happened, right? So again, this week as you're going out, I know it's Friday and it's not a work week, but take a few minutes over the weekend, today, whenever you want to do it. But as you're starting to make decisions, just fact check yourself a little bit. Stop and say, well, I would say this is the right answer, but hold it. Let me decide why do I think that's the right answer? Do I think it's the right answer because my parents told me that's what the right answer is? Do I believe that's the right answer because that's what my church told me the right answer is? Do I think that's the right answer because maybe that's what the government has a law about or has told me about? And those really aren't reasons necessarily to believe that something is actually true. And so, what I want you to do is start thinking about some of the beliefs that you have, some of the assumptions that you're actually making, and decide, am I really making the best right decision for myself? And only you can decide that. Only you can know that. I can't tell you, right? Just like at the beginning, how long should a live video be? I have my own opinion, right? You have your own opinion. Which one of us is right? Which one is the truth? Well, for each person, that's going to be different, right? It depends. Okay. So with that, I'm going to head off for now. I got to go get on another call with a client. So have a great weekend, everybody. And if you have comments, leave them below, and we'll see you on the next live. And by the way, today's video, 15 minutes. Shorter than the last ones I've done this week. See ya.